Hey, Motorman here, and boy, that was ugly, but let me explain to you exactly why that happens. Even if you've been riding 20, 30 years or more, you still can't perform low-speed maneuvers correctly, and you keep falling down. So I'm going to dissect this and show you exactly what happened and how to prevent it. All right, so this rider told me he'd been riding for over 20 years. Now, what he's trying to do here is go between these two cones and make a complete circle. He starts off okay, and then as he continues, his speed starts to drop ever so slightly, but he's going from about 6 miles an hour to about 5 miles an hour, maybe 4. And once you get below 5 miles an hour, there's more force of gravity pulling you to the ground than the force pulling you forward. So what he did here was pulled in the clutch, no power to the rear wheel, and of course down goes the motorcycle. If you're turning and you're below 5 miles an hour, you don't have very much force pulling you forward. As soon as you pull in that clutch, you release power going to the rear wheel, and the bike really has no choice but to tip over. So the moral of the story is, keep power going to the rear wheel, keep your speed at 5 or above at least. In this next circle, listen, because you'll hear him keeping his power going to the rear wheel, and he makes it with no problem. Plus his circle is bigger, which makes it easier to go just a little bit faster. So why is it you could be riding for 20, 30 years or more and still have problems leaning, turning, and swerving quickly? Well, think about it. What have you been doing for 20, 30 years? And this rider admitted this. He cruises down the road, makes great big wide turns once in a while, and comes to a nice easy stop. Anybody can do that. It takes virtually no skill. But leaning, turning, and swerving and avoiding obstacles out on the road or here in the parking lot, it takes skill or technique. Head and eyes, friction zone, a little bit of pressure on the rear brake. That's really all there is to it. But it takes some practice. If you've never done this before, you've never practiced, like I've said, when that car pulls out in front of you, what are you going to do? That's your one shot at it. Here in the parking lot, you got dozens of tries at it till you get it right. They don't always get it right, but this is where you want to make your mistakes. Once again, we see this rider. He's right about 5 miles an hour. He makes this turn and then pulls in his clutch, and the bike tips over. No power to the rear wheel and no forward momentum. The motorcycle is going to tip over. But this is where you want to make your mistakes. Not out on the street. You're making a U-turn out on the street and you do this, car behind you could very well run right into you. We learn through repetition. The more times you do this, the more times you practice the proper techniques, the better you're going to get at it. It's just common sense. You see here this rider now, he's keeping his speed up. He makes sure that power is going to the rear wheel, and even when making right-hand U-turns and right-hand circles, which for most people are more difficult, he gets through it okay. Still, there's room for improvement, of course, but he's got the hang of it. He knows how to use that clutch and throttle now. He knows what the rear brake does for him to help him with these low-speed maneuvers, and he has no problem getting through the exercise, as I said, even when making right-hand U-turns, which are tougher for most people. Just to show you that riding well is 90% mental and only 10% physical. Now, this particular rider, he's been to this class before. It's been over a year. I'm not sure how much practicing he's done, but he's gone through every exercise pretty easily. Now in the snowman, gets through a 26-foot turn. Now he has to go into the tightest one, which is 24 feet, and there's a lot of cones in his way. He looks down for a second. It's got to put a foot down and practically duck walk the bike through. Now this is his second or third time through. This big circle is 30 feet to the left. Has no problem here, just like before, no problem going through the bigger circle. Gets into the 26-foot to the right. Again, like before, no problem. He's looking where he wants to go. He's only focusing on the green cones. He gets into the last one, the 24-foot, now looking just at the green cones and then at his exit, and makes it through easily. Now, this rider coming through on the Triumph, he's practiced prior to coming to the class. He's doing an excellent job. In fact, he breezed through just about every exercise. One of the advantages he has with this motorcycle, it's got a short wheelbase, a short rake, and it's highly maneuverable. Not intimidating at all because it weighs just under 500 pounds, I believe, yet it's got plenty of power for the highway. So if you want to learn to ride like a pro, what you got to do is practice the correct techniques. That's exactly what I show you in my Ride Like a Pro experience video. I highly recommend it. The best $20 you'll ever spend on your motorcycle. Go to ridelikeapro.com. And here's our Christmas special, folks. You get the Ride Like a Pro experience video, Surviving the Mean Streets video on USB, so you could plug it into your phone when you go to practice, and you'll always have a hard copy. You also get, of course, the practice guide and my Ride Like a Pro book, $59.90. That's right, $59.90. Normally $67.90, but for Christmas, we're going to sell you this for $59.90 to your door. That includes shipping. ridelikeapro.com.